if you're a lifelong fan of Cyberchase who grew up with it since you were a kid in 2002, then you definitely know by 2020 that the Cyberchase episode True Colors is a warning for democracy.
Ahead of its time.
Absolutely.
Eerie, considering what's going on now.
The hacker does a lot of good deeds to win over the people of cyberspace in an honest way, but with a very dishonest ulterior motive behind it.
And after I've been elected potentate of cyberspace, I plan to revise the cyber constitution so I'm permanent potentate of cyberspace. There will never be another election.
And that is why Inez, Jackie, Matthew, and Digit need to prove that even going forward, the hacker will not always continue to tell the truth and do good things for everybody after he becomes the president.
If we could catch Hacker in one single lie, we could prove that he doesn't always tell the truth. What we need is a counterexample.
Counterexample?
An example that proves Hacker's claim is false.
They know they can't prove the future, but eventually they find a way to prove that Hacker won't do every good thing he promises to do when they reveal that any three sides of any length do not make a closed triangle.
No matter how I arrange them, they do not and will not make a triangle.
And neither will the three rods in that box.
They proved he was telling a lie when he promised to never tell a lie again.
Yep.
And one of his features was that he told a lot of lies.
Yeah.
Familiar?
Exactly. And that's how they prove that the motherboard is still worthy of president of cyberspace. And but you know, the Cyberchase For Real segment there's actually something about the Cyberchase For Real segment that haunted me even more than the main storyline of True Colors. Harry wanted to take the sellers of Sleazy off to Allison Court because it was false advertising.
Sleazy off removes stains from some fabrics, but it does not remove stains from all fabrics. I can't believe it. The makers of Sleazy Off told a lie on TV. What is this world coming to? I will not stand for this. I'm taking Sleazy Off to court.
But it claims it will clean every fabric. Right.
So what happened was the guy was sentenced to doing the prison laundry for 50 years.
Oh, prison laundry. Okay, appropriate.
And I mean, Harry was just imagining what could happen if he took the Sleazy Off guy to court, and he realized that he didn't want to be this cruel. He didn't want to destroy the Sleazy Off salesman's family for a false advertising crime that is at worst just only a harmless half truth.
Well, in real life, he might just pay a fine and then stop making that false claim, right?
Right.
He wouldn't really go to prison for 50 years and do prison laundry.
I know that was just a silly thing that Harry imagined could happen, but honestly, it still haunts me and makes me feel kind of sad to think about how many prisoners have families that got destroyed over little crimes, or families that got destroyed simply because, or even for prisoners who committed worse offenses. You know, I worry about the families of worse criminals who were just unlucky to have been related to a criminal that can no longer support their needs after going to prison, such as, like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to have to name names, but well, you know, because but I will this time. I feel awfully terrible for Jared Fogel's kids because they didn't know what he did, and they were and they were still very young when he was exposed for the monster he is in 2015.
Finding out that your husband and the father of your children is a child predator, and knowing that his job involves him visiting schools on a regular basis is devastating.
Do you ever feel bad for the kids or spouses who have had to grow up with without a person they didn't know what related to them, that who've had to grow up without a relative that they didn't know was a criminal until it was too late.
Yeah, but if the person really is a criminal, what are you going to do? I think you should feel worse about all the people who are in prison for really minor victimless crimes, like
Oh, yes,
possessing
absolutely.
a small amount of drugs that's not even illegal now.
Oh, definitely. I
You know,
think I
that's
consider that
that's
too.
much worse, right?
Right.
They really didn't do anything wrong. They're not some monster,
Yeah.
and they go to prison. They get way, unjust, harsh punishments, compared
Right.
to some rich guy who did the same thing.
Right. Well, but when a bit true, but I also want to know, like, when someone who actually deserves to go to prison for a long time goes to prison and they had a family, do you feel sorry for the family who lost them to prison if they were not an accomplice in any of the jailed relatives' crimes?
Yeah, because they're innocent. Sure, that's collateral damage, but then
Yeah.
the person who committed the crime, we're talking something serious like Jared.
Yeah.
It's sad, but you can't let that kind of criminal go free and
I know.
do more bad stuff. It's a shame. Yeah, for his innocent family.
Well, that's why the exaggerated scenario in the Cyberchase For Real segment of True Colors also feels like another second bonus cautionary tale of its own that reminded me to feel some sympathy, empathy, or worry for the innocent families related to legitimate criminals who could get destroyed and have no one else to support them after their parent goes to prison.
Yeah, and also, the time should fit the crime. The sentence should fit the crime. Not be overly harsh.
Yeah.
But to be appropriate. Like for a false advertising claim, I mean, people generally don't go to jail. They get a fine, or they agree to not make that claim anymore.
Right. Well, hopefully, if
Both.
Kamala Harris becomes the president, Tim Walz becomes vice president, they'll do whatever they can to make both make all American legal systems and healthcare systems more just, especially when their systemic problems have a much bigger, worse effect on people who are on people who come from the same sort of racial, ethnic, and immigration background as Kamala Harris herself.
Mm-hmm.
Hacker said if he wins the election, he's gonna revise the cyber constitution and make himself the permanent potentate.
That means no more elections.
That sounds like the real hacker.
Yes, I was right all along.
What the hacker plotted to do in True Colors, that's now what 20 years later, that is now what Donald Trump wants to do in real life, trying to creating a dystopian society that he rules that will take away our constitutional, gosh-given human rights and freedoms,
Yeah.
and deregulate everything.
Right. Yeah. And exactly.
Any society with no regulations is doomed to fail. So, do you want to end this video? How do you want to end this video? What do you want to tell our audience about voting in November and the Cyberchase episode we just discussed?
Vote and be carefully consider your vote. Vote and bring people with you to also vote.
Do you think it's okay to not vote?
Well, if you don't vote, then you can't complain about who won, right?
Right.
Try to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Well, that's why I'm
If
voting.
you don't like either one, vote for the lesser two evils.
Well, that's why Kamala and Tim have my vote.
Carefully look at their record. And regardless of what they say, look at what they've done or not done in the past. That's a better predictor of what they're likely to do in the future. Right?
Right.
Yeah.